the kind of core mission, it's about keeping people safe, fundamentally at our core. Our office is led by the Attorney General, so you might have also heard us referred to as the Attorney General's office. Luke, is there any difference between the two? Not really. It's just the way that you want to say it. I usually kind of tend to go to Department of Justice because that seems, a little bit more formal. But the department is led by, like I said, the Attorney General, elected statewide every 4 years. That face on your screen is your current Attorney General, Jeff Jackson. Was elected in November of 24, took office in January of last year. Before serving as Attorney General, A.G. Jackson was a congressman and a former prosecutor out of Gastonia, and a state senator as well. So I don't know what I'm saying there. I like to break our work down into these three buckets. So if I tell y'all, hey, our job is to keep people safe, what does that look like? It's these 3 points. Preventing crime, supporting law enforcement, protecting consumers, and defending the state, its people, and their constitutional rights. I'm going to gloss over the second point here just because that's most of what I'm chatting with y'all about today. But I'll emphasize just kind of a couple examples of this first and third piece of the preventing crime and defending the state, et cetera, to give you an idea of some of the things that we do that you probably have no idea that we do. I was telling Carl this earlier, that it seems to me that most of what folks know about the work of our office is whatever makes WRAL, and I understand that's the case for every single state agency across the board. But the reality is, I think some of the most important work that we do, most people, 1, have never heard of it, and 2, have no idea that we do it. Example A, law enforcement training and standards. Our office runs the Justice Academy here in North Carolina and facilitates all law enforcement training and standards in the state of North Carolina. So if you want to become a sworn law enforcement officer in this state, our office is the one that trains you. We certify you. We can help facilitate transfers between agencies, all of those different kinds of things. We run the state crime lab. And so most local police departments outside of kind of small towns, they'll have their own crime labs in-house. We have the largest crime lab in the state with several locations. With hundreds of employees who on a daily basis are doing forensics on things that are sent in from the State Bureau of Investigation, et cetera. We don't prosecute cases every day like your normal district attorney would, because in North Carolina, district attorneys have what's called original jurisdiction. That basically means they get first dibs at a case if they want it. Most district attorneys take most cases because district attorneys are elected. Easiest way to win re-election as a district attorney is to win your cases. And so most district attorneys will take cases that are investigated by law enforcement. However, they can ask our office to prosecute. When does that happen? Usually when it's a resource issue is when it comes to us mostly. Maybe it's a small county that has a very kind of specialized prosecution. Maybe it's a financial crime that the prosecutors there just have never dealt with before. They can come to us, and there's really no reason why. There's nothing that says these are the only reasons that we can prosecute a case. It just comes down to the discretion of the district attorney. Public corruption as well, sometimes to avoid conflicts of interest, whether they're real or perceived. Great example of that a few years ago, a district attorney in the western part of the state was indicted. And as you might guess, it's kind of difficult for a district attorney's office to prosecute their own district attorney.
Yeah.
Hey, here we are. Why is it kind of set up the way that it is in terms of us prosecuting folks kind of inconsistently? It's because we handle all criminal appeals. So we represent the state in all criminal appeals and basically argue that the state got it right the first time. So it is not our job to pick and choose based off of what a jury decides. The jury says this is what the verdict is. Our job is to represent the state in those appeals. As you would guess, most folks who don't take plea deals like to appeal their cases. And so we run thousands upon thousands of appeals every single day. I'm so glad that I'm not an attorney because I really don't want to be on the appellate rotation is what we call it, which is that every person in our office who has a law degree that is in good standing with the state bar, there's going to come a time every single year where you're going to get an email that says you have been assigned this criminal appeal. Get ready. And then
what do you do with that?
I'm sorry.
The criminal appeal, what does the lawyer do?
So the lawyer goes to the appeals court and says, I'm going to argue that the state got it right the first time on whatever the ruling was. This is why you should uphold the original conviction. It can go all the way up to the Supreme Court if need be. Fun fact, the Attorney General himself actually argued an appeals case a few months ago. We tried to talk him out of it. We were like, sir, maybe don't do this. And he was like, no. He's like, I'm telling my attorneys they have to be on this rotation. I want to be on this rotation. And lo and behold, he showed up at the North Carolina Supreme Court in the fall of last year to argue call it relatively simple, what happens if somebody steals a firearm but doesn't realize that they have stolen a firearm? It was somebody who stole someone's car, didn't realize that there was a gun in the car. The person had previous criminal conviction. I'm getting way off topic here, but this is fun. The person had previous convictions. They couldn't possess a firearm due to prior convictions. So he was arrested. There was a firearm in the car. So of course he was charged, stealing the car, all of those things, but charged with possession of a stolen firearm. If you don't know that what do you do with that if you don't know that you have stolen a firearm? The original court said, hey, it doesn't matter. You stole a car, brother. There was a gun in the car. Buddy, your history. All that to say. And our office stepped in and said, the original court got it right. They haven't ruled yet. I'm anxiously waiting to potentially goad my boss a little bit, mostly because he called me on vacation last week, and I was a little annoyed about it, but it's okay. And then lastly, defending the state, its people, constitutional rights. We are the lawyers for all state agencies. That is I think, thing that most people really don't know about our office, is that our office is statutorily obligated to represent all state agencies in court. So anytime someone pursues any type of litigation against a state agency, that's us representing them. We also represent the state in litigation the state brings. So anytime the state sues a business, an individual, another government entity, that's our office as well. Most of the time, that comes up in our consumer protection work. So our consumer protection division, largest division at DOJ, they investigate consumer complaints. They take action against scammers. They respond anytime there is a security breach. They are the ones that are required by law to be notified by the individual that data was breached from. And also, I throw this on here when I do this just because my section, the public protection section, we're the kind of policy outreach arm of the department. We fall under the consumer protection umbrella. And so we do a lot of education, kind of what I'm doing now. I'm talking about scams and frauds. Our office gets about 19,000 consumer complaints every single year. You go into our website, you can't miss it. That's on purpose. At the top of the page, it says, file a consumer complaint. State law basically says that we have the ability to investigate businesses that try to hurt consumers. What does that look like? Well, it really depends. I'll just keep it here for just a second, because there are a lot of different outcomes for these cases, y'all. So state law says that we can't provide individual legal advice or legal assistance to folks when there's maybe just like a private business dispute. And so that really muddies the water for what we are allowed to do. So I always tell people, even if it is just a transaction between you and your best friend, file a complaint anyway and let our folks look at it. But this complaint will be assigned to somebody that deals with just these types of complaints. We have these, we call them they're pods, these little pockets, where it's somebody who just works on automobile complaints. That's the second most prominent complaint that we get every single year. Robocalls is the first.
What's the one?
Robocalls. Spam calls, just generally. Automobiles, landlord-tenant, credit card. I don't remember what 5 is. You kind of get the idea, though. Any type of just general business disputes are within these pockets. Gets assigned to somebody whose sole job is to know the law about automobiles or about energy regulations. So we're going to review it. And the first thing we're going to do, before we establish really any merits of what the actual case is, and unless we look at it and we're like, yeah, this has nothing to do with anything that we do, we'll occasionally get one that's just folks will submit a complaint just saying I need to report a crime. My neighbor is abusing the dog that's chained up outside. We're that needs to go to animal control. We don't do anything with that. But we are going to, first and foremost, send a letter on your behalf to the person you're complaining against. So if you have a complaint against somebody if your car dealership sold you a car, we're going to send a letter to the dealership that's going to say, this is what was alleged in the complaint. What is your response? That's the first step of the process. I always like to emphasize to people that there are far more in the state of North Carolina people that are just really bad business people than people who are trying to do you harm. That does not downplay that if you have been harmed by a business or some other organization, we want to make it right for you, and we hope that we can make it right and that we can get to a good resolution. But more often than you think, when folks get that letter from us, they say, oh, I didn't realize this was a thing. My wife, when I talk about it, equates it to like the Google review culture, where restaurants will reach out to people who have left bad reviews and say like, hey, like send us a message. We'd like to make it right. Depending on what the business says or the organization or whatever, there are different steps that we can take. And like I said, there's so many different outcomes for this, and I could spend all day talking to you about like what those potential outcomes are. But the bottom line is state law says when we receive patterns of complaints, when we start getting multiple complaints against an entity, against a business, against whatever it may be, we are authorized under state law to take legal action toward the business. Most recent example, the last couple weeks has been in the news. There was a wedding photographer. You might have seen this. This is one of those, I say rare examples of like when things make WRAL, and I'm like, oh, look. This one was personal because we almost used this business as our wedding photographer last year. Someone else, glad we did. Our office alleges, and we are currently suing this photography business. I think it's, last I checked, was 166. I don't know if we've gotten more complaints since. Probably have. Haven't said it publicly, though. Complaints against a wedding photography business for not showing up to weddings, sending different folks to shoot the wedding. So you're promised one photographer, and then day of you get somebody else. That would have ruined my wife's wedding day. Photos being taken and then never given back. Messy stuff. All that to say, state law says you have the authority to investigate that, and that usually unfolds in a kind of civil manner. There are occasionally times it will kind of veer into criminal law territory, but even in those instances, like I mentioned, that would go to the district attorney first to prosecute. What y'all really want to hear from me today about scams and frauds, how you can keep yourself safe. I know I spent a long time on the background, but I think that's important to add the context for like what our office does on this. You can read on the board, it's a legal definition, thank you to Merriam-Webster, of a scam. It's a dishonest scheme aimed at taking money or something of value from an unsuspecting individual or group of individuals. I want to emphasize this second point, that every single person is susceptible of being scammed, regardless of all of the descriptors that you will assign to people. And I'm going to ask two questions to you now. First is, most likely age group to be victims of a scam. What do you think it is? I'm hearing most people say, anybody want to deviate from that answer or consensus?
Teenagers.
We got teenagers over here, anybody else?
I think it's people who are working, that are
Okay.
just so busy.
Yeah, these great answers. 18 to 24-year-olds,
Yeah,
most likely
I bet.
scam victim in North Carolina.
So those are not young kids.
That early college, early adult, I'm out of the house for the first time. Like, God, if I can't tell you how like great I felt being young and dumb and in my early 20s, like I was ruling the world. Most likely victim of a scam. Has been consistently that way for years. It's not one of those like magic switches where it's always been old folks and now it's young people. I will emphasize that they do lose less money than older people generally, because like at the end of the day, like they don't have like I had nothing in my bank account when I was in college and again young and dumb and in my early 20s. Second question. There is one thing, and I'm a huge data science guy. That's why I pivoted to public policy instead of pastoral ministry. Lot of research into kind of indicators, like what makes somebody more likely to be scammed. And there's one specific thing. And I'll give you a hint, nothing to do with any of these like age, religion, all those things that makes you the most likely scam victim. What do you think it is? What's that one thing?
Job description.
Sorry, I got three at once. What was that?
I think what they do for a living.
Okay, good answer. Not the one I'm looking for, though. It's good, though.
I said job.
Job.
Job. What kind of work?
I mean, I'm sure that probably plays into it, but it's not the one I'm looking for. What else?
I think somebody's just too busy to really pay attention, just clicking on stuff.
Also, great answer. Still not what I'm looking for. I'll go one more.
Greed.
Also a great answer, and it's not what I'm looking for, though. The most likely scam victim is someone who's been scammed before. Yep.
Really?
Most scam victims, repeat scam victims.
You can look.
I'm going to tell you how it happens. We hear this all the time, y'all. Dadgummit, I knew that. I was so stupid. I should have known better about that, and I just, whatever. Oh, how could I be so stupid? That person doesn't want to tell anybody, though, that they got scammed. Can't tell y'all how many times we get these reports of folks who have been scammed so long after the fact, or from a family member, or from a financial institution, or from the U.S. Postal Service, who every single month sends us a list of fraud victims that they have identified, because the USPS is the one that regulates a lot of interstate commerce fraud.
Yeah.
They send us a list every month, required by law, to all state attorneys general or the equivalent of who investigates this. These are the victims of fraud that we've identified on the federal side. When our office reaches out to those folks, they hadn't reached out to us first, because they're embarrassed to tell their kids, to tell their church community. And they think, I can get myself out of this because I recognize now, well, I should have known better, but I know now I can figure it out. And then we get the snowball effect. I'm going to go try to get the money from somewhere else because I only lost $1,000, but I can afford it.
I love that.
And it starts to snowball. They're more likely to go to a predatory lender. I was telling Carl this earlier. Anybody know what the interest rate cap in North Carolina is? What's the highest APR loan you can take out?
6.5?
It's 36%.
36.
Yes.
Lowest in the country. Go down to South Carolina and enjoy your 550% payday loan. Yep. Lowest in the country. But still, 30, that's an insanely high. I told Carl this a second ago. I was like, if your mortgage was 36%, we wouldn't have a functioning economy. Like, if you just kind of have the idea of like how this works. They go to the lender, they take it out, they snowball, they're more likely to be scammed. These are the 5 most common scams that our office got last year in terms of money lost. Sweepstakes and lottery, every single year, number 1, congratulations, you've won the Publishers Clearinghouse, you've won the lottery, you've won the HGTV Dream Home. All we need is for you to write us a blank check, and we're going to bounce it, we're going to give you the money. So last year, or not last year because its annual report from last year's not out yet, but our office received 91 reports that folks said that they had lost money to these types of scams. We verified that 24 people lost money, and out of those 24, they lost about $85,000 each. Each. Imposter scams. This is where somebody pretends to be somebody that you have already assigned value to. So law enforcement, your bank, somebody that you think, hey, these folks are legitimate. I'm going to give you 2 very specific types of scams here that we are seeing recently to watch out for in this pocket. The first is jury duty scams. If you have not had this happen, you probably are going to have somebody who's going to call your phone at some point. Hey, it's us, the Wake County Sheriff's Office. You missed jury duty. There's a warrant out for your arrest by Friday if you don't pay us a fine. What I always tell folks, all government agencies typically write to you in writing, except for local law enforcement. They're going to come to your door. So like if you miss jury duty, you're probably going to eventually get a visit from the sheriff at your front door instead of a phone call. The second that I want to emphasize within this pocket is a relatively new scam, and these are cryptocurrency ATMs. In terms of percentage of money lost, there has never been a greater increase year over year than last year with folks falling victim to this type of scam. It happens in 2 ways, but the main way that we see it is somebody pretending to be an investor. There's an investment opportunity for you. And what they will get folks to do, and typically this is something they do target toward older folks, is that they will get you to go to a gas station or a grocery store that you can buy or sell cryptocurrency. Bitcoin's the main one, but you can just about any ATM in this country now, you can buy and sell crypto. Walk into the grocery store nearest to here, I guarantee it's there. And even if you have not set up any type of really like crypto account, anything like that, you can pretty easily send cryptocurrency. And by its nature, it's an unregulated asset, and it's really hard to track. And so they will get old folks on the phone, and they will say, you just need to go to any of these ATM. Where are you located? Oh, you're at so-and-so. Well, there's a Food Lion right by there, and if you can just go over there, folks will dump money into this like you have never seen.
Wow.
Number one increase in terms of money lost. Why do I bring it up? Because it's only going to get worse. What we're doing about it, one of the main things, we partnered with the Secretary of State's office on this, and we're working with local law enforcement. In fact, Fuquay Varina was our test law enforcement site for this when we did this a few months ago. We are working to put signs up in every single gas station and grocery store in the state of North Carolina that says, is somebody telling you that you can only pay them using crypto? It's a scam. Call this number now. And I'm not kidding y'all, we straight up rode around we did a ride along with law enforcement and walked into gas stations. We'd be like, can we put this sign up? And most of them were probably felt a little threatened that, law enforcement and a attorney in a suit would walk into their, just sticking them up everywhere. It's a big thing that we're working on. I won't touch on these other three on this slide just in the interest of time because I do want to save a couple minutes for questions. But I will emphasize one kind of main point here, particularly as it relates to phone scams. And if you take nothing away from anything that I tell you today, make it this. If you don't know who's calling you, do not answer that call. I know you have a doctor's appointment coming up and you're waiting for a call from them, or you're waiting for a call from your so-and-so. I understand that. If it's important, they're going to leave you a voicemail or they're going to call you back again. I'll give you a lot of inside baseball here on the way that scammers operate. Most scammers don't want to spend hours on the phone with you trying to scam you. They don't want to go through these long-term scams because the easiest way for a scammer to make money is to sell your information to someone else. And the easiest way for them to sell your information to somebody else is to prove that Carl will answer the phone when you call them. And then they're going to send a list of numbers to some other scamming buddy, some other organization, and it's going to say, here's a verified list of numbers. They called, we were on the phone for this long. Have fun. Easiest way for a scammer to make a quick buck. So that is I'll get to that.
Okay.
So if you don't know who's calling you, do not answer it. Yeah.
I usually don't answer.
Yep.
I don't recognize the number, but when I accidentally answer and it sounds like a scam, right? I say, take me off your list. Does that still work?
No.
Oh, dang it.
I mean, if it's a reputable list, so the do not call registry, if you're not signed up for it, the do not call registry works for legal solicitation. Keyword. If you are doing robocalls in the United States and you are a business that is licensed to do it, you have to abide by the do not call registry. So what I always tell people is if you are signed up for the do not call registry and you get a call from somebody, they're either one, not following the law by not following the registry, which you can file a complaint on that. My coworker did it. She didn't get a lot of money. She got like $10 though out of it. I was like, opportunity cost of all that time. But that also gives you a little bit of insight of all right, well, this person who's calling, claiming to be this person doing this sale of something, they're not reputable because I'm on the registry. So just to emphasize that specifically, in terms of text messages, the number one that we see, again, it's these kind of messages that are just trying to get you to respond. So it's the, hi, I recognize this number in my phone. Who is this? Or is this still so-and-so? Or, hey, it's us, the Postal Service. You missed a delivery today. Please respond with a time that will work. Just trying to get you to respond. Best thing you can do for that, swipe right on that text message. If you have an iPhone, it's going to give you the option to, and Android, most Androids as well, it's going to say delete and report junk. Click that button. It rocks for a lot of reasons. One, it deletes the message. She won't accidentally reply. Two, it blocks the number, so they can't use that number again. But three, it reports it to your telecom provider, who is required by law to send it to us as well. So we get it eventually. Yes, ma'am?
My phone is set up so that if you're not in my contacts, it will not ring.
Yep, great tool. I do the same thing.
But I'm getting this one that tells me I have tax problems. And it's not a known number, it's not in my contacts, but I'm getting at least 4 a day. I've been getting through. So how do they get through?
What do you mean, how do they?
Well, I mean, if the phone is set up not to take anything that's not in my contacts, and these people are not in my contacts,
I
you don't have an idea.
I don't. That's That's a question for the engineering team at Apple.
Yeah.
And I'll just share with my Android, I actually have an option with my Android where I can just screen the call and it
Yeah.
answers for me, and some people are like, who is this? And if they answer and I can see who it is, oh, I'll pick it up. If it's a scammer, they hang up.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, sir.
I'm a disciple of your advice. If your name doesn't show up in my contacts, it doesn't get answered. So I just, because of that, they want to verify the number. Because they're just going to sell them.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yes. The one I can't quite figure out is, I'm getting 4 or 5 a day about my business loan. And the offer keeps going up. And it's like, well, they want to give me money. Yeah, he said they're trying to give me money. Now I do the block,
Yep.
like you said. I don't really think that helps. Because somehow or another they
They're-
have a way of creating numbers.
Yeah,
That then
yeah, it's
puts
called
it in
it's
as
called
a new number.
yeah, it's called call spoofing, and it's I get it because they're not going to use the same number every single time. This is entirely anecdotal, and so I will just say it with I'm talking about my personal experience of doing this as somebody who, if you say a disciple of what I'm saying, maybe the person who's spreading the good news here, I have had a drastic decrease of the number of spam texts and calls that I've gotten since I started working at NCDOJ. I'm serious. And that I truly stick to I'm just not going to respond to these things. I get maybe a spam call every month, maybe a spam text every week. And there truly just becomes there comes a point where those numbers stop being sold. Now, you might notice a lot of them in kind of a quick period of time. Sad news is that means your number was probably in a data breach somewhere. And that's typically where we see it happen. So I say that entirely, anecdotally, I have seen better kind of protection by not responding. But you are right, it is annoying to keep changing numbers.
It also seems like, what I find is they happen in quarters, so for about 2
Yep.
or 3 weeks, I get a ton. And the first thing I do is I look at the first 3 numbers, so it might be a 984 or a 919,
Yep.
but it's always 207, whatever.
Yeah.
As soon as I see that, I just report to spam.
Yeah. Would you saw a couple hands over here?
So,
Yeah, anybody. I'm pretty much done in the interest of time, so.
So 2 more real
Yeah.
quick. One, several years ago, I downloaded an app called RoboKiller, which was supposed to be a blocker. And I wonder why recently I'm getting a lot more stuff. Apparently that's converted to a paid app now or something like that. Do you know of any apps that are free?
We don't endorse specific products just as a state agency. That's kind of our, so.
Yeah, no, I get it.
Yeah, no, short answer is no. There's no kind of apps that I kind of use.
Okay. Second question. real
Yeah.
quick, though. Now, isn't there something over in the Secretary of State's office that's kind of related to consumer protection also? I have this recollection of that.
So
what do they do that's different from what you do?
that's a great question, actually.
He gets surprised.
So the Secretary of State's office does patent infringement and trademark related scams. And so most of their scam prevention work comes within that realm. So they have somebody over there who works on that specific kind of investor protection. They also do investor protection as well. So scams that come from investment. So they regulate investment firms. We don't necessarily do that. My favorite, this is just entirely not fully off topic. My favorite thing to talk with the Secretary of State's office, because we partner with them a lot, to talk with them about is they have a guy over there that deals with fake merchandise. And he always sends me pictures of these are the fake AirPods that were seized at this thing. Or my big thing has been knockoff sports jerseys. Because jerseys are insanely expensive compared to even when I was a kid. And 13-year-old me used to buy illegal Panthers jerseys from China. Recognized now, not the best thing I could have done. But that's a great example, is that a trademark that is filed in North Carolina, the Carolina Panthers logo, team's based in Rock Hill, their office would enforce trademark law. And they have a little bit more prosecutorial teeth because they can specifically prosecute those types of crimes. And so that's a little bit of what their office does. They're a smaller team than we are, just a smaller office in general.
Is it because trademarks and those kind of things are licensed from the government?
Licensing, because the Secretary of State, and the Secretary of State's office in North Carolina deals with all business licensing. So if you want to start a business, you have to get licensed by the Secretary of State. Yes,
Are you
ma'am.
involved at all in immigration enforcement?
In what context?
Pursuing illegal immigrants?
Specifically, that's all, since we don't prosecute folks day in and day out, that's all at a local level. I mean, so that's going to be the sheriff's office is going to be the ones that are doing any type of cooperation, because we don't, NCDOJ doesn't have any sworn law enforcement officers within, or we have folks who are sworn law enforcement officers, but they are not like operating on behalf of our department in law enforcement activities. And so that's,
You don't align with the United States Department of Justice on that?
we're a separate entity from them. And so the US DOJ can prosecute. So the FBI, all the way down, any type of federal crime, that is prosecuted specifically out of the federal Department of Justice. In North Carolina, since local DAs are the ones who have the discretion to prosecute, all of that takes place at a local level. So the short answer to that is very little to no kind of overlap in that space specifically for our office.
Any other questions?
I got one.
Yes, sir.
Is there any way DOJ can really sit down and say, we're gonna stop? We're giving everything to these people who want it. Because everywhere you go, everybody's gonna ask you for more information every time. The more information that's floating out there, it's easier for them to get it. But we're doing it to ourselves, and no one is sitting back there and saying, we're gonna stop this mess right now. It's over. You don't need to get my social security number to do business with me.
Do you want me to get real with y'all?
Yeah.
Get rid.
You're off the clock.
No, I'm not. We are only able to enforce the law so much as Chapter 75 of North Carolina's Unfair and Deceptive Trade Practices Law. And so what I always tell people is that if you want us to have more ability to regulate corporations from taking whatever information, or if you want to say, like, I want whatever it may be, your elected representatives in the General Assembly are the ones who are going to have to change those laws. And so we are operating under legislative law. So if statute says one thing, we can do it. If statute doesn't say it, we can't do it. Great example. Money laundering used to not be a state crime in North Carolina. You could not prosecute somebody for money laundering in North Carolina. No matter what. I mean, even if it's like, oh, that is very clearly this person is money laundering. The law says you can't do it. They passed a law 2 years ago. General Assembly says money laundering is now a state crime. Prosecutors can do it now. And so, like, I don't say it as a cop-out answer, but it is the short answer of just that since we are not a legislative body, we're not a rulemaking body, we're an executive office. We are charged with enforcing the law as it has been told to our office that we have the ability to enforce it. And so,
the privacy issue is what's killing, though, is that you can find any information out of the courthouse now on anybody you want.
yeah, e-courts that's the administrative office of the courts, and we have nothing to do. I just want to emphasize we have nothing to do with that.
I have to say thank you very much. That was
Thank you. I appreciate it.
informative. We appreciate it. One thing, Larry, would you like to present to Scott? Scott, stand up over there.
Scott, last week or 2 weeks ago, when our last meeting was, we failed to have the certificate for your Paul Harris, and I received that this week. You've already, come on up. You've already been gotten a pin and pinned by the assistant district governor. So now you're completely official. You can frame this, and we'd like to present that to you as a.
Yay! Thank you very much.
I'm gonna appreciate us not getting a picture, so hold on. You framed well.
Take off that.
He said, oh no.
Thank you. Just a couple of things real quick. The foundation board met and they've worked out something regarding scholarships. And I understand that the 50th anniversary of our club is going to be held at the Curran Complex. So they're working very diligently on that. And some of us are working on the Classic Car Show on April 26th. So anyway, for now, I want everybody to stand, because I remembered to do it this time. And let's say the four-way test. Are you ready? The four-way test of the things we think, say, and do. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? And have fun. Good job. That was fun.